Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're taking a deep dive into something really interesting, how Australia's education system is handling a massive increase in international students, particularly those coming from Africa.
Yeah, it's a hot topic right now.
It's a bit of a balancing act, right? You've got these amazing universities, a beautiful country,
Right.
but also new policies that are having a pretty big impact. So why should we care about this?
Well, think of it this way. Australia needs more healthcare workers, engineers, tech specialists.
Right, fields that are in high demand pretty much everywhere.
Exactly. And there's this whole pool of talented students in Africa who are interested in these exact
They're
areas.
looking for those opportunities.
They are, but getting there, getting a spot,
Navigating the system,
that's where things get complicated.
and that's what we're going to unpack today. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's set the scene a bit. Australia's been a magnet for international students for years, haven't they?
Oh, absolutely. High quality education, a vibrant culture, those stunning landscapes.
Beaches.
Yeah, it's easy to see why it's so appealing.
Who wouldn't want to study there?
Right. And for a while, Australia actively encouraged this influx of international students.
They saw the value in that diversity, right?
Absolutely. They recognized the benefits of having a multicultural student body, but recently things have shifted a bit.
Yeah, with the introduction of these studi caps.
Right. Basically limits on how many international students each university can accept.
So the government's saying it's about making sure domestic students aren't disadvantaged.
Right. It's about making sure there are enough spots and resources for Australian students, which on the surface
Makes sense.
seems fair enough. But how it's actually playing out is, well, that's the question, isn't it?
And it's particularly interesting when we look at the growing number of African students choosing Australia.
It's a significant increase. We're talking a 20% jump in the past 5 years alone.
20%. That's huge.
Right.
And it's not just any degrees they're pursuing either.
No, not at all. Many are laser focused on those high demand fields, healthcare, engineering, computer science, areas where Australia desperately needs skilled professionals.
It seems like a potential win-win, right?
You would think so. But with these new caps in place, it makes you wonder if these students are getting a fair shot.
Exactly. And that's where the challenges come in. Because for many students from Africa, even without these caps, studying in Australia has its hurdles,
Absolutely.
like the cost. It's not exactly cheap.
No, not at all. Tuition fees alone can range from, what is it, AUD 20,000 to 45,000 per year?
Something like that, depending on the program.
Yeah.
And then you've got living expenses on top of that, which in a country like Australia.
Let's just say it's not known for being cheap.
Right. Now, imagine you're a student from Africa, maybe the first in your family to go to university.
Right?
You've worked hard, you've got big dreams,
Absolutely.
you set your sights on Australia. But now there are fewer spots because of these caps.
It's even more competitive.
More competition for acceptance, for financial aid.
Definitely adds another layer of complexity.
And then there's this other thing, something that really stood out in the research, the information gap.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one.
Students from Africa often don't have access to the same level of guidance and support as students from, say, North America or Europe.
It's a real disadvantage.
Thinking about navigating the application process, the visa requirements, the cultural differences, it can be overwhelming.
Especially if you don't have someone to guide you, someone who's been there before.
And this isn't just speculation. There was a survey done in 2022 that found a whopping 65% of African students felt ill-prepared when it came to information about studying in Australia.
Wow, 65%.
That's a pretty big chunk.
Oh,
And then, of
okay.
course, you've got the Australian immigration process itself, which
Well, let's just say it has a reputation.
it's thorough, to put it mildly. Those visa requirements are no joke, and the processing times can really drag on.
It adds another layer of stress.
So you've got financial barriers, information gaps, and a rigorous immigration system, all with these new student caps in the mix. Makes you wonder,
It does make you wonder.
is this unintentionally creating a system that makes it harder for students from countries with fewer resources?
That's the question, isn't it? And it's not just about fairness. It's about the potential impact on Australia in the long run.
Exactly. Are they potentially missing out on incredible talent, limiting their own growth and innovation?
That's a key point, the impact on innovation. When you limit diversity,
You limit the perspectives, the experiences,
the potential
a
breakthroughs.
bit of a downer, right?
Well, it's easy to get bogged down in the challenges.
Yeah, I can feel a little, I don't know, a little hopeless. But the good news is, it's not all doom and gloom.
Exactly. There are people working on solutions, ways to make Australian education more accessible for students coming from Africa.
Okay, so what are those solutions?
Well, for one thing, Australian universities themselves could take a more proactive approach.
Right, they're in a position to actually make a difference.
Exactly. I mean, imagine if they partnered directly with organizations in Africa that are already doing great work in education.
Creating those pipelines, offering guidance, that sort of thing.
Exactly, providing support throughout the entire process from application to arrival.
That would be huge.
Right. And of course, there's the financial side of things.
Yeah, the elephant in the room.
Right. Scholarships could be a game changer.
Targeted specifically at students from African countries.
Absolutely. It would help offset those high tuition fees and living costs.
Make it a reality for students who might have thought it was impossible.
Exactly. But it doesn't stop there.
What else? What else can they do?
Universities could do a much better job of highlighting their success stories.
You mean like showcase their African alumni?
Yeah, showcasing graduates who are now leaders in their fields, innovators, entrepreneurs.
So inspiring. That could really make a difference for a student who's on the fence, wondering if they can really do this.
Right. Seeing those role models, it's powerful stuff. But of course, it's not just about what universities can do. There's the policy side of things, too.
Right, the bigger picture.
Exactly. It's about having those tough conversations at a higher level, like really understanding what these student caps are doing.
What impact they're having on diversity.
And how that impacts Australia's future. Because here's the thing. A multicultural learning environment.
It's not just a feel-good thing.
No, there's real value there. Imagine a medical researcher from Kenya bringing their unique perspective to an Australian university.
Right, or an engineer from Nigeria, bringing their innovative approach to sustainable development.
Exactly. That cross-cultural collaboration, it sparks creativity, it drives innovation, and it's not just a hunch, the research backs it up.
Oh yeah, tell me more.
Studies have shown that diverse student bodies actually lead to better academic performance overall, not just for the international students, for everyone.
So it's not just the right thing to do ethically, it actually makes these institutions stronger.
More competitive globally. And that's a message that needs to be heard loud and clear. But even with universities and governments doing their part, we can't underestimate the power of community.
Of students supporting each other.
Exactly. Peer-to-peer networks, mentorship programs.
Where students who've been there, done that, can share their experiences.
Exactly. Offer advice, create a sense of belonging, navigate those challenges together. Because it can be tough, you know?
Being away from home, adjusting to a new culture.
Exactly. Having that support system is crucial. And it's not just about students supporting each other. Everyday Australians, they have a role to play too.
Creating a welcoming environment.
Absolutely. Recognizing the value that diversity brings.
Being open to different cultures.
Challenging our own biases.
Stepping outside of our comfort zones.
It all starts with those small steps.
So we've got universities stepping up, governments rethinking policies, students building communities.
And everyday people embracing diversity.
It feels like a lot to tackle.
It's a multifaceted issue, for sure. But there's one powerful thought I want to leave you with.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's this powerful thought? Okay, you mentioned a powerful thought. What's this big idea we need to consider?
What if, and stick with me here, we shifted our whole perspective?
Okay, I'm listening.
Instead of seeing these students as just, filling slots in universities,
Right.
what if we saw them as bridges?
Bridges. Okay, I like where this is going. Tell me more.
Think about it. These students, especially those coming from a place as dynamic as Africa,
Yeah.
they bring so much to the table. Knowledge, perspectives, connections.
Right, and they have those existing networks back home.
Exactly. And a deep understanding of their own cultures, how things work in their countries, insights that someone who hasn't lived that experience just wouldn't have.
It's like a whole other layer of expertise.
Right. So what if instead of just, having them here for a few years, we actually found ways to tap into those connections, that cultural capital?
We could be building some serious bridges here.
Exactly. Stronger relationships between Australia, African nations,
Right.
collaborations in research, innovation.
Entrepreneurship.
The possibilities are huge.
It's, like you said, a win-win.
Yeah.
Investing in their education.
It's not just about their individual success.
Right. It has this ripple effect, a positive impact on everyone involved.
And it goes beyond just the economics, right? Think about cultural exchange, diplomacy.
Just a deeper understanding of different viewpoints, which is so important these days.
Exactly. It's about creating a more globally engaged, culturally vibrant society.
That's a legacy worth building.
Right. It's about looking at the big picture, recognizing that we're all connected, and when we embrace diversity,
Everyone benefits. Well, this has certainly given me a lot to think about. It seems like Australia's at a crossroads.
Trying to find that balance, right?
Yeah, supporting their own students while also reaping the benefits of a diverse, globally engaged education system.
It's complex. It'll be fascinating to see how it all unfolds, what choices they make.
Absolutely. And what impact those choices have, not just on these students, but on Australia, on the world. Something for all of us to consider. Who knows, maybe this deep dive will spark some new ideas, some new connections. That's what it's all about, right?
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening, everyone, and a big thanks to our expert for joining us today. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.